today we're going to look at linear regression. We've done linear regression before when we looked at the regression in our last unit. So I'm just going to do an example here that uses Delta Math and uses Desmos to solve and run different logarithmic equations, how to use logarithmic regression to come up with an equation that you can then evaluate. So I've pulled one example from Delta Math and I've got Desmos open right over here so you can have your screen split or have two tabs open. So I'm going to use the Delta Math regression calculator because that's what your assignment is going to have. So here's what the question says. The accompanying table shows the value of a car over time that was purchased for $16,300, where X is years, Y is the value of the car in dollars. Write an exponential regression equation for the set of data. So that's the first thing I'm going to do. And then using this, determine how long it will be until the car's value is $3,600. So what's really nice about Delta Math is that you don't have to build the table. You don't have to put the values in. We're just going to use the Delta Math calculator. So first thing I want to do is copy those values for the calculator. So you just click that copy button. It automatically saves them. And just a reminder, we are looking for exponential regression. So I'm going to open up the calculator, paste those values in. In my drop-down menu, I'm going to click the calculator button, and I'm going to go and I'm going to pick what the question asked. The question asked exponential regression. So it's going to give you an equation. Now, every regression starts off y equals. If you forget this step, Delta Math is going to count it incorrect. And we are rounding to the 10,000th. So 16,767.663 times 0.8921 raised to the power. So I wrote it down so I can come right back into my Delta Math. Swap over tabs, and I'm going to start that equation. Y equals 16767 times 0.8921 raised to the power of x. So I use the calculator in Delta Math to write the regression, and then I'm going to use Desmos to evaluate. So pop on over here. I've got that regression already set up. Here's what that graph looks like. I've zoomed in a lot. So here's kind of the screen you're going to see. So there's the exponential regression model for this car. So Delta Math did ask me to use the equation to determine how long to the nearest tenth until the car's value is $3,600. So I need to figure out, am I writing an x equals statement or a y equals statement? So I'm going to use my table to actually help me out. So it is asking the value in dollars. So if I look at my table, x represents years, y represents dollars. So I can actually come into Desmos and say, okay, I need a y equals statement. I need something in dollars. And I need, just slide this over, I need when it is $3,600. So I'm going to be looking for where my red and my green intersect. So here it is. I like to zoom back in so I can get a better picture. Click on the little gray dot for their intersection. And so my value for X, or my number of years, is 13.5 because it did want it rounded to the nearest tenth. So I look at the 4, I say, hey, does this day a 4 become a 5? It becomes a 5. So 13 and a half years is all it takes. So pop right back here, make sure I've got y equals, and my final answer was 13.5. And that's how you use Delta Math and Desmos to come up with your regression. Again, Delta Math, this A Delta Math website has its own calculator, so that's kind of what we want to use when we're doing our assignment because we want to use whatever they're going to use to check our work. And then use Desmos to evaluate. Make sure that you're reading your question. So for example, here in the Delta Math, there's a couple key things to look for. It does tell you what kind of regression equation to pick. So it'll tell you exponential, it'll tell you logarithmic, it'll tell you linear. And that's always your step one, is to figure out what kind of regression am I using first. Second is to then use that equation to determine a specific value and use those context clues to help you figure out if it's an x equals or a y equals statement. And then lastly, just because I think sometimes we get caught up in doing all the math, we forget what they're asking for. Be careful how you round. So I'm just going to have you guys do some regression practice equations today, getting comfortable with using a delta regression and being able to come right into Desmos here and use the regression that Delta Math gave us and Desmos to evaluate. Look where they're crisscrossed, look where your solution is. So it's not really tough. It's just getting really comfortable with the use of the technology and the tools that we have.